What's going on with it, fam? You know what I mean? You already know. You ain't got to guess who it is. You already know. It's Guess Who, the rapper, a.k.a. Guess Who, the Illuminator, here to illuminate your brain with some of this incredible and glorious game once again, man. And, of course, before we get started, hey, if you like yourself today, hit that like button. You like someone else, hit that share button. But if you love yourself, hit that subscribe button, man. If you want to be certified to be notified, man, whenever the video drops, hit that notification button by hitting that bell button. All right. Now, this is Guess Who, the Illuminator reactions, and I came across a video yesterday dealing with a discussion. I don't know if it was a debate-like discussion, but a discussion between a guy on YouTube by the name of Marquette, Devon, Burton, the Saint and the Sinner, you know, on YouTube, right? And Mysonne, the General, you know what I mean, out of Bronx, New York, you know. And I was watching their exchange and in their conversation, and I just thought it was very interesting due to their talking points. Now, in times past, especially with Marquette, you know, I've roasted him one time, and I appeared on his show one time when he was going at it with Sin for the P and going at it with Adam 22. And when I did my response, it's on my channel, y'all can look for it. It's when I did it with my reaction to him and Adam 22, man, and how I just started roasting him, because I remember when he first came on the scene, and he doesn't really represent that any longer. But when he first came on the scene, he represented himself as the pimp, you know what I mean? And then him and Sin for the P got into a little back and forth, and, you know, I come to find out he wasn't a pimp, you know what I'm saying? And he used to come on in and say, you know, this is Marquette, Marquette Levon Burton giving you message from a pimp. And you know what I mean? It was like, and the way he started acting and things like, you know what I mean, concerning that, he started talking like, he had talking points that was totally against what the pimping would have. Like when he got at Adam 22 on the whatever podcast, you know, he started talking about human trafficking and all kind of stuff and sex work and all of that stuff. Y'all go and check out the video, you know what I'm saying, that I did on him. I was like, oh, this nigga ain't no pimp. You know what I mean? He went to Berkeley out there in San Francisco, and I lived in San Francisco for almost a year, and I used to live in Emeryville in Oakland, and I used to live in Hunters Point in San Francisco, and I used to hang out in near Berkeley and all of that stuff. You know what I mean? In that Bay Area, baby, that Yay area, and I love the Bay. You know what I'm saying? But so I roasted him before. But with this discussion, you know, of course, he's progressed and developed and whatever his presence on YouTube. So I'm like, yo, he keeps going, you know what I mean? That shows you what consistency will do. But what's interesting in this case, man, though I, you know, sharply disagreed with him in times past, with this discussion with Mysonne, man, I was like, yo, I'm siding with a guy who I roasted before. You know what I'm saying? And I used to wonder, you know, when Hassan Campbell would go at Mysonne and Tamika Mallory, and of course, I understood why he did that. I understood why Hassan did that, and I understood the liberal Democratic side that and Black Lives Matter and things like that side with Tamika Mallory and Mysonne and things that, that whole agenda. Now, I don't think Mysonne really is aware or part of what he's, involved in when he decided to get into activism. There's very noble causes, absolutely, because there was a lot of unaliving of our people at that time, like Trayvon Martin, as he's going to describe. Well, I skip past that part. Y'all go check out this video that I'm about to show. But this is how he got into it, into what he became a raptivist, or an activist that rap, you know what I mean, or a rapper slash activist. But this discussion here, man, is deep, and I want to just go ahead and get right into it. Don't waste any more time, man, and get right into it, man. Let me let y'all hear this discussion. Let me let y'all hear this discussion. Let's go.
So what happens is when you look at the other people who are on SNAP benefits, they've utilized SNAP to their ability, right? If you look at the Jewish population, they are one of the highest, also a high population on SNAP benefits. They utilize the housing of the SNAP benefits. They utilize the housing. They figure out how do they get free housing, and they also own their own communities within the communities they live in, and they also figure out how do they benefit off it. So what I think is what we haven't learned is how to benefit off of using the state's money, like the billionaires have, right? They call and they say we're bankrupt, right? We have our money, but we're not going to spend our money. So we want you to give us your money, and we're going to continue to make more money. I use the example of Rich Dad Poor Dad. The rich people figure out how to use OPM, right? And that is a form of government assistance. So if Black people were in our communities and we were taught how to utilize the government assistance, right? We were taught how to utilize SNAP benefits. Right now, they're trying to stop us from doing that. Right now, there's a crackdown because the lady brought cakes, right? She brought cake mix with her SNAP benefits and began selling cakes. Everyone else in other communities utilize the SNAP benefits and they double and triple those benefits. Everyone else uses government assistance to double and triple and make money off of it. They are intentionally trying to keep Black people poor. So I don't think that the SNAP benefits broke up the Black family. I think what broke up the Black family was not understanding how to utilize Black benefits, being targeted in our communities, because they understand that the biggest threat to America is Black unity. The president said that, Nixon said it himself, the biggest threat to America is Black unity. So they've always tried to do that. I think the biggest thing that destroyed the Black family, especially when you look at the time that's most been destroyed, is drugs and crack. Crack was the biggest thing that destroyed the Black family, because prior to that, we were still unified and we were moving. We were doing what you said. There was a community base. We're going to make sure that you're okay. Before crack came into my community, every door next door to me was open. We walked in and we lived like a community. We actually lived like a community. We were able to walk into our neighbors' doors and get sugar. We were able, my grandmother and grandfather, my family, we had family meetings where we had the susu, where we put money in and we had family businesses. So when crack came in, you couldn't trust your own family member, because once they got the money, they wasn't going to come back to it. So I don't think SNAP was the biggest thing that destroyed the Black family. I think drugs, and that was an intentional thing by the government to destroy the Black family.
Okay.
All right. Before I let him do his talking point, yes, I could agree with Mysonne on that point, dealing with SNAP benefits as opposed to crack detriments, because they're basing upon, I guess, a comment, or I think it was due to Marquette's interview with Willie D, and I think they covered SNAP benefits and how it's destructive to our community. And I don't know if he said, y'all can confirm it, whether he said that it's the biggest, whether it was the biggest effect on the black community. But if he said that, I would not agree with it being the biggest. But crack, it was a culmination of both of those things. But I believe the drugs definitely has a little bit more weight. But at the same time, they're both stringent, heavy elements of a systematic means of targeting the black community and lining them up for its destruction and its impediment of their success. Yes, definitely. SNAP played a major part in it, but drugs definitely played a major part in it. And, I guess their discussion or their little debate is we shouldn't rely on SNAP. SNAP benefits other, nationalities are benefiting and prospering and doubling up and tripling up off of government benefits. And they're, why can't we do that? So that's my son's position, saying that, listen, we used to be able to go door to door, borrow sugar, borrow this, that, ketchup, whatever we need. And I know, that's true, in the neighborhood. That's how it was. And then we used to have the blocks of cheese, the government cheese line, and that block of government cheese, that was the best cheese, period. And it carried us over and stuff like that. But I'm gonna allow Marquette to get into his talking points when he's talking about SNAP. Another thing I'm gonna point out what my son mentioned is I think we should have been taught how to use the government assistance and stuff like that so it could benefit us like other nationalities, other ethnicities are doing. But the key is we are not them. We are targeted public enemy number one. There's a girl I think it was in Michigan, you know what I mean? I forget her name, but I saw somebody talking about her on Instagram, and what she did which I was unaware of, that she bought baking ingredients, cake mix ingredients with her SNAP benefits, and was selling them and having a bake sale and things like that. And do y'all know that she's in court right now facing, I think, like 5 years in prison for that? Did y'all know that? They got her, I think she's out on bail or something like that. They're actually about to lock her up for using SNAP benefits to buy ingredients to flip it. And that's some sort of, that's considered illegal or something like that. That's what my son was talking about. But, no further ado, I'm going to let Marquette come in with his talking point. Come on.
Very good. So my challenge with folks who often take your position, and your position can very much so be described as a liberal position. I don't suggest that to put myself on the other side as a conservative. I'm not a Republican or a Democrat, a liberal or a conservative. I just follow this ism. Marquettism is for the kids. Marquettism saves lives. Now, let's talk about this piece. So we agreed earlier that the government is for the rich. I think we can probably also agree that the government is, and always has been in the United States, organized for and controlled by white people. Would you agree with that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if the government is for the rich, and you said black people are not the rich in this country, if the government is organized for the benefit of white people, organized by white people, and black people are in fact black, which color-wise would be opposite of white people, then why is it that your idea is using government benefits, which is to say using the benefit from the enemy or from the person or the group that doesn't care about you? How would you think that that would benefit you? It's nonsensical. Furthermore, it suggests a level of inferiority. Not that the white man believes you're inferior, but that you believe you're inferior, such that you must rely on the government handout. Furthermore, you reference the Jews and other groups that are utilizing the welfare benefit system. Well, obviously, mathematically, being that blacks are overrepresented at 200%, there's obviously some groups that are underrepresented. And I think that's worth considering. Furthermore, the Jews are actually categorized as white and have been for some time, especially since the data started being recorded when these public benefits were given out. Now, with regards to the black community, what they're lacking today and in times past, especially during the time of the crack epidemic, which, destroyed many of our families, mine included, is ideology. You see, the reason I say that there's no such thing as a black community is because communities have a lot of things in common, but core things. You mentioned the Jews earlier. It's a great example. They have religion. They have language. They live in proximity. They don't allow outsiders in. They have patriarchy. They have their own hospitals. They have their own policing force, and they have a strict system of belief, and they don't snitch and rat on each other. And also, they don't rely on the outsiders, the goyim. Whereas conversely, you're kind of describing all of the opposite things for black people. You're describing the idea that we should rely on the government, which has been our open enemy since we arrived here on a slave ship named Jesus. Black people, some are Muslims, some are Christians, some are atheists. They don't have a uniformity in the religion. Black people don't have their own language. Our folkways, mores, and our music and culture has been commercialized and stolen from us. And that's precisely why there has to be one system that dominates. And because black people are very effeminate as a mass, very soft and emotional, they have trouble accepting the fact that something must dominate to unify us into what would rightly be described as a community. Furthermore, you speak of the idea that blacks need welfare and they need government assistance. And if you were to only look at the 54 states of Africa, and you find every one of them is accepting foreign aid, also known as welfare and assistance, from whom? From the same group, which is to say the West, the whites, and they're all failing because government assistance is not designed to get you off of it. And even though you think it's benefiting the black people, it is actually not. It's making them weaker because, as you yourself admitted, it forced your father to have to disappear when the social worker comes up to check in, to make him have to creep around with no dignity. The truth of the matter is black people are the wealthiest group of black people, the ones in America, on the whole planet Earth. And so I assure you they can get by without those SNAP benefits, and it will open up a whole different way of living. You mentioned something about the woman being independent. I would describe it as disobedient and rebellious. The man is the leader and he is more rational, and there's data on that. And he is to lead. The idea that the black woman would use SNAP benefits to allow her to shirk her responsibilities and her duty to the black man is an abomination. And that is something that has caused a great deal of trouble. So what you're describing as a good thing is in fact a bad thing. When you look at the data, we see that those black children who grow up without their father because their mother was independent for whatever reason, they have higher levels of criminality. And you were locked up with a lot of them. They have higher levels of mental illness. They have low levels of educational attainment. And then the other thing that you mentioned that should not be mentioned at all, and it is not a factor, and that is why this ism has to spread around the whole world. You mentioned love. Love is fantastic. Marriage is not about love. Family unit is not about love. It's about pushing toward a particular set of milestones in a life well lived. Love is great. Compatibility is better. Love is great, but being able to cooperate and produce is better. How do you measure love? You can't measure it. And the worst thing about it is love is something that the women are very much so hooked on. And that's when they want to leave the relationship because I didn't feel the love. You have a duty now to be a mother. You have a duty to be a wife. And that outstrips love. I yield the floor to you.
And
Man, let me tell you something. That was a mouthful, bro. That was a mouthful. And I can't disagree with too many of his talking points concerning everything that he just uttered. First, dealing with SNAP benefits. Yeah, other nationalities are winning with it, but does it make us weaker? Of course, when you become dependent upon another person to, that supports you, you are subservient to them. So of course that makes us weaker. The fact that they could dictate to you, how much you get, who can be in your home at the same time. In order to receive these benefits, the man had to be non-existent. It was a now cipher for men to be in a home when it came to receiving welfare, for most welfare recipients, and by and large, they were women. You know what I mean? And so no, even when he said, when Marquette mentioned about Mysonne, because I didn't cover that part in his video for time's sake, but in a part of the video, when y'all can go check that video out with them two having the discussion. Mysonne mentioned the fact that when the social workers would have to come over, his father would have to pack up and leave the house and sneak around and creep around, and then wait for them to leave in order to return back into the house. And my son said, yeah, he didn't abandon the family, but he went out and worked, but he still had to leave when they showed up. That's degrading. That's deplorable. That's despicable. And that's why Marquette was like, your father had to leave the house when they came over. That's whack. That's foul. So, yeah, that's not good. You know what I mean? Hell no, that ain't good. Then he's talking about, as far as utilizing what they're doing over there in Africa, and they're giving basically the same thing, assistance out to them in order to weaken the nations. Now they're subservient to the powers that be, which are white people. Then he's talking about the fact that my son brought up the Jewish community and stuff like that. And he said, and Marquette began to expound and say that black people really don't have a community. We don't. He said, basically saying, since we came over here, these people are outright enemies. And you thinking them, that we need their SNAP benefits in order to rely on them, and thinking it would be beneficial to us, that's nonsensical. Yeah, I do understand what my son is talking about. It did help us out, because if Marquette and my son knew who we really are, they would both know that we are prophesied to be underneath these people and in need and in want for all things. All things. You understand what I mean? All things. The money that he's talking about, you know what I mean, is printed up by these same people that we're in captivity of, you know what I mean, that we're being held and being impeded by. That's their money. This is their currency. And that governs everything. You know what I mean? That governs everything that we're doing. But Marquette was right. We don't have our own hospital. We don't have our own language. We kind of have our own language, which is, like an English language or Ebonics or whatever. But, our own police force and things like that, like the Jewish community has. And guess what? When we did have those things like Tulsa, Oklahoma, Black Wall Street and all that, we have white mobs come in and bomb them and destroy them and utterly wipe cities like that out. Blacks, progressive cities like that out, like the MOVE movement, Rosewood, Oklahoma. And then there's plenty of other townships and cities that where black people are trying to separate themselves. That's basically what Marquette is talking about. And I 1,000%, 1,000,000% agree with separating from them. Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? And the fact that we didn't have our own language and that we're scattered like sheep with no shepherd when it comes to religion and beliefs and spirituality. You know what I mean? We don't have no solidarity. And the reason why we don't have any solidarity is because we have a lack of identity. Our identity has been lost. Our legacy has been lost. Our tongue has been lost and stolen. Not only on top of that, not only have our tongue and our tongue, language, identity has been stolen, legacy has been stolen, our land has been stolen. Why? All of these things were prophesied to befall the real people. You know what I mean? The real children of Israel, the real people of God, the real chosen people of God. We will be and want for everything from our enemies. That's what's missing in this discussion. Not one of them brought this information up. This is why I'm here, to put some paint where it ain't and say what Marquette and Mysonne just can't. Yeah, you could. Yeah, we supposed to do exactly what he's talking about. He's doing with Burton plantations, and of course, he's giving out, I guess, a couple of acres or whatever for $30,000, $30,000, whatever, and that's admirable and whatever. In order to have our own farm and homeschooling, yeah, we just got to keep redoing it. But under what banner? Under what banner? It has to be under the banner of Christ. It has to be under the banner of Israel. Yashar, the true Israelites. They talking about Africa and all it is, or African and black men. That's cool. But the true identity of black people that are in this condition, we are the children of Israel. A lot of us are from the specific tribe of Judah, meaning we are the real Jews of the Bible, not by religion, not by conversion, but by blood. That's the key that's missing. You know what I mean? What they're not understanding, neither Marquette or Mysonne. That's the knowledge gap that I came to fill in this discussion. You know what I'm saying? But as far as Marquette is what he's saying, he's absolutely correct. Those are liberal talking points. I know what he's doing, you know what I mean, by saying liberal white women, you know what I mean, because, they seem to be pushed in the forefront as liberal, as the main liberals, but we all know that's liberals are controlled by white men of higher in a high seats of authority. You know what I mean? They created it and pushed the white woman as the strongest advocates of liberalism. You know what I mean? Liberalism. So yeah, I get it, but it is denigrating. I get it. He wants to denigrate the ideology of liberalism itself, which it should be, and I don't have no problem with that. But when you're attaching it to Mysonne's ideology, it is, you can feel disrespected. You can feel like you're trying to get at me or something like that. But he is, and he might be, because he might be trying to get at him, but not really. Or it's just trying to get at the ideology and attack the ideology, period. I don't blame him for that. You know what I mean? Yeah, at the same time, that's a way to denigrate your brother. So you got to watch the appearance and preside over that situation a little bit better. Especially when they're being, feeling some type of way by it. But let them continue on. Come on.
I respect everything that you said, with the exception that a family unit, it should not have. I mean, you said that there should be compatibility, right? And it can't be compatibility if we have a disagreement, and because we disagree, I lose a fight and you hit me in my mouth. Right, abuse should never be. Listen to me. I listened to you. I didn't interrupt you.
I just want to say, but I never said that though. Like you're. I don't want people listening to you thinking like I said that.
Well, you agreed with the person who said it. You made a full statement. I watched the video, and the man explained his verbatim that if I say something and you say "shut up, bitch, nigga" or whatever, and I hit you in the mouth, I didn't abuse you. You lost the fight because you used terms that would be deemed fighting words, right? That those were, and you said, "Well, I understand that because you should not say things if you're not prepared to fight." And I don't agree with that mentality. I'm a man, a strong man. I am a masculine man. I don't agree that if a woman doesn't agree with me or says something that's out of line to me, that I should put my hands on her. I don't believe leading a household requires me to be physically abusive to a woman. I don't believe that showing strength or even in a relationship that compatibility, that her word should not matter in the household. I believe that I should have the final say, or we should come to agreements about how we're raising our children, how we're doing things. I think that if I'm in a relationship with a woman who respects me, that I've earned her respect, then she will yield the floor and understand that I'm the head of the household. But there are a lot of men who are not men. They are merely males, and they only have control in their homes, right? They don't even have control in their homes. Only way they have control is because they're physically stronger than women and children. So they go into those homes and they beat and they harm women and children, and they don't produce strong men. They don't produce strong women. They don't have partners. They have people who are in fear of them. And I believe that for years, that's how a lot of our, when you have conversations with elder women, there are elder women who said, I wasn't in love, I wasn't in compassion, I was in fear. And I lived in this relationship out of fear, right? So no woman or children should be in a household where they're in fear of someone who is supposed to be the head of their household.
All right, let me put my 2 cents in here. Now, as a person who engaged in, activating a rebuking service, like Sinful the P used to say, and participating in rebuking a woman sharply, and used to speak with the language of hands and feet. Not that I use my feet or nothing like that, but I'm just using that to describe that. Yeah, there was some times where a lot of I had to discipline a few females for getting out of pocket, and in that moment, though I do not condone that behavior. I do not condone that behavior at all, because when I was doing it, every time I finished, I felt a strong condemnation within my spirit. And I realized that yes, I was behaving like a male. I was not behaving like a man. You understand? I was not behaving like a man. I was not developed. I was an underdeveloped male, you know what I mean? And that was a very effeminate behavior. But did I correct you? Oh yeah. You know what I'm saying? Did I shake you and try to, give you a new, and become a hairstylist and give you a brand new hairdo, and you know what I mean? And fix your hairdo, or some carpet ministry? You might have ended up on the carpet, or, linoleum, you know what I mean? It was a lot of linoleum service, you know what I mean? Carpet ministry, you know what I mean? Things of that nature. Yes. But as I grew and developed and the game came to me, I realized that no, that was very contrary to what I would call manhood, you know what I mean? And no. And by me being schooled and reared and then, informed or gamed up from men or distinguished gentlemen of leisure that participating in a lifestyle of pimping and hoeing, one of their doctrines, some of their doctrines, yeah, some of them are gorilla pimps. Like, he's talking, Mysonne was talking about some elderly woman saying that I was only there in fear. And that's a strong possibility. And that's like in the game, that's called like guerrilla pimping. That's a non-cipher, you know what I'm saying? And but at the same time, what I was magnetically attracted to this doctrine of the game, which is if you had to use your hands, you ran out of game. You know what I'm saying? And I heard Pimpin' Ken say this, man, about a month ago when I was watching him on him and Virgil on Soft White Underbelly and Mark. And he said, listen, man, pimping is a non-contact sport. You know what I'm saying? No fingerprints, no evidence, or no evidence, no fingerprints. When I heard that, that just confirmed to me that it resonated with me that that's the right path. And had I had that information back then, I would have never provided or presided over any rebuking service that ended up in carpet ministry, or me speaking in the language of hands and feet, or me taking her to the barbershop and getting her another haircut, or me becoming an instant hairstylist with no cosmetology degree and giving her a brand new hairdo. I would have never did that, because pimping is a non-contact sport. No evidence, no fingerprints, or no fingerprints, no evidence. And ever since, and I ain't have no problem ever since accepting that doctrine, man. You know what I'm saying? And another thing that Pimpin' Kid said that just completely resonated with me, when he said, we don't put hands on hoes, we put plans on hoes. We don't put hands on them, we put plans on them. So in order for him to get her into a correct attitude, or an attitude adjustment, or provide motivation and inspiration, he had different tactics, different things, different methods of correction. You might have to write an essay, or write something, certain sentences 1,000 times, or if you needed motivation, inspiration, he would take her, to have a fur that he already purchased for the low, set it up in the fur shop with the owner, have her pick out that particular fur, and what he bought it for, he'll put his price tag on it. That would give her not only inspiration, but give her motivation to follow his instructions in order to go out and bring in more currency. So, and it's an emergency. So, I understood that resonated with me. So it made me totally cast off the old ideology of putting hands on hoes. No, we don't put hands on hoes. We put plans on hoes. So I totally get that. You know what I'm saying? When my son was talking about, males, intimidating women and things like that, we don't do that. But at the same time, chick, watch your mouth. You know what I'm saying? Cause there's everybody ain't gonna resonate with that information. But at the same time, I used to be that way. And sometimes you still, I ain't too far removed. You ain't gonna keep, you know what I mean? Watch your mouth. You know what I'm saying? I am developed, and I am, but I ain't too far removed from a man or a woman. Watch your mouth. You know what I'm saying? And you're not equal. You're not equivalent with me, because one thing else I learned, and before I let him proceed on, I was taught this by Sinful the P, R.I.P. And he puts it like this. The woman is the gift of God, but the gift of God is not equivalent to the recipient of the gift. I put it like this. Women indeed are the gift of God, but the gift of God is not equivalent to the recipient of the gift, which is the image of God, who is the man. Man is the image of God. And then the woman which proceeds forth out of the man. Anytime she trying to act equal or usurp authority, that's going to anger that man. And he might, you know what I mean, start putting no plans on her. No, he'll have plans to put hands on her. Let's go.
Should be a unit. So I understand what you're saying. And yes, I believe that a man should be dominant, but I believe that a man should be proven to be dominant. I think that you prove your dominance through intellect. I believe you prove your dominance through compassion, to empathy, to being able to teach, to be able to teach your children. To a woman feels like when she's around you, she's learning something, she's growing. If a woman's around you and because you are unable to teach her or able to reach her, all you can do is beat her, then you have not shown any level of any type of superiority. You are not leading a household. So when we talk about those things, and when you talk about the stats, right, and we talk about, yes, they did. Black people are the only people they took our culture from us, right? They took all the things. They took our culture. They've taken our religion. I say this all the time. Only thing that we unite in is pain and trauma. When we see another Black person in pain and trauma, we all united. Prior to that, I'm Black, you foundational, you this and that. We are divided. So what I'm trying to explain to you, that's why that if we're in America and all of the resources are held by the white people, right? If all of the resources are held by the white people and we're figuring out because they understand that anything that you teach us, we outlearn them, and we've done it over and over and over. I've watched, and this is why every 100 years they disenfranchise Black people, because what happens is once you teach us the game, we play it better than you. So what they do
May I respond to your earlier point since you're going on to a different point now?
I'm going into what you went into 3 different points. So
okay, I was just asking. I'm carry on.
To what you said. You were talking about how we are divided as a culture, how we don't have a culture, how we don't have religion. So I'm explaining to you what happened. So they know that we don't have religion. So what happens is now that we start to build our culture, we start to come back in congruency, we start to be united, and they see that united. This is right now is a reckoning. This is a reckoning for what Obama did. People say Obama, the president, didn't do anything individually for Black. He did. What he did was inspire and motivate more Black people to be professional, to be strong. They seen Black people in positions of power. So Black men said, I can own things. I can be the president. I can be the president of Fortune 500 company. And they began to do that. Black women did the same thing. So,
let me stop him right there. Wait a minute. Hold up. Wait a minute. No, listen. He brought up Barack Obama and the fact that there are Black people out there saying that, man, Barack Obama ain't do nothing for us when he was in office. You know what I'm saying? And one of them people was me. I totally agree. I never uttered it, but I've agreed when people say that he hasn't done anything for Black people. You know, what he did do, gave bailouts to the criminals that bankrupt the country. He did all kind of stuff for the LGBTQ YMCA, the LGBTQ YMCA. Yeah, he did that stuff. He made child support federal. You know what I'm saying? He created the NDAA. Look up what NDAA means. You don't know who he is. You talking about when people say that, when Black people say he ain't doing nothing for Black people. Yes, he did. He inspired us to say that we can own businesses. We can start Fortune 500 companies. We can be president. Man, R.I.P. to H. Rap Brown. Y'all need to go look up when this guy was interviewing H. Rap Brown, and when he was saying like Walter Washington and them and different people was Dick Gregory and them running for the office of president. He said if any of those Black men were to take the office of president, then Black people need to be prepared to fight against that person. The interviewer said, "Why do you say that?" He said, "Because the office of president doesn't dictate the sentiments of the people. They're more responsive to those who put them in office, in the service of the powers that be." And at that time, he was describing the military-industrial complex. But that president's seat is a satanic seat. I hate to tell you. I hate to inform you. I hate to illuminate your brain with some of this, incredible and glorious game once again, man. But it's the truth. What president Oh, listen. First of all, let me explain this to you. The United States, not America. The United States is a corporation established in 1886. I think it's 1886. Yeah, I think it was 1886. They incorporated a privately owned company out of England called the United States. And all corporations have presidents. Just like you will never vote for the president of Walmart, which is a corporation. You're not going to vote in no president for a corporation called the United States, own, and they have shareholders and stockholders that they're the ones. And these are these centralized banking cartels and these banking institutions and these people who created the Federal Reserve Bank, and they're in control of the currency, something that these forefathers was fighting against and lost it. And the devil of Jekyll Island in 1913, where they finally lost the power to print their own money. And you think you gonna get in there? You talking about Obama, nigga? What? Like, no, he didn't do anything. Remember the movie Casino, Philip Green, where he was just, go look at the movie Casino, Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci, and where they had this character called Philip Green. He was the face of the Tangiers, president of the Tangiers Casino. And the Midwest crime bosses were the real ones who was controlling the Tangiers Casino. Skimming off the top, getting all that money, man, tax-free. That movie told me everything. It told me about 9/11, before 9/11. That's why I was able to see what 9/11 was, because I remembered the movie Casino. Why? Because I'm an illuminator. I could see it. You talking about Obama, bro? No. No. But what he did do was talk bad about black men and made black men scared to even get involved with a black woman. Or what he did do was representing Planned Parenthood and full-term birth abortions. Man, bro, not when it comes to him. And you don't know who he is spiritually. You don't know, because you don't know who you are. Neither one of y'all, but at least, one of y'all know that wasn't no good idea. Come on. Voting him in. Before I continue on, let them continue. I never voted for anybody a day in my life, because I've been studying this stuff since I was 7 years old. 7. I understood a lot of these things since 7 years old. No, I have never voted for anybody. Bush, Clinton, Obama, Biden, Trump, nobody. How? Because I already understood they're not elected, they're selected. How you gonna vote for a president, of a corporation? That's foolish. And all these so-called laws that they're legislating, they're not laws at all. They're corporate policy. That's all they are. They're codes, resolutions, ordinances. They are exactly what they say they are. They are not law. And the Bible says it's through their policy that they will destroy. It's through their policy. You know what I mean? It's not law. They are against the laws of God. That's why they're stealing and unaliving and, and impeding his people, which is the Negroes. And let me get this out and I'm going to let him go. Negroes and Negroes only are the children of Israel that this so-called New World Order is totally against. Negroes and Negroes only. Not all melanated people are related. We are the children of Israel. And yes, if you are Hispanic of Negro descent, then yes, you are indeed an Israelite. If you are a Native American of Negro descent, then yes, you are an Israelite. Any other doctrine, it's time for Operation Delineation. Any other doctrine that a lot of these so-called Hebrew Israelite camps teaching, that's false. And I'm going to be dealing with that real soon. It's false to say that the Hispanic, North American, Indian, and Negroes are the Israelites. No, it's Negro and Negro only. Because a lot of them Hispanics, so-called Native Americans, these people are Japhet and Ham. And they both had us in slavery. Check out Indian slavery. Black slaves, red masters. Look it up on YouTube. But as far as him talking about Obama, nigga, no. Talking about inspiring us to have Fortune 500 companies and stuff like that. Man, he forgot about Tulsa, Oklahoma. He forgot about, not even just that, just even in these modern times. You know what I mean? We ain't need no Obama to start wanting and to making Fortune 500 companies. Come on, man. Come on.
As they see that now, you see the reckoning to where they trying to rewrite in America. So I understand what you're saying, but I also want you to understand that this government owes black people. They pay reparations to everybody else. So if we can't give reparations, even in the form of the real reparations that we deserve, and we can't utilize the government money to be able to build and as a foundation, a lot of black, a lot of people do. I know white people who live at their parents' house, right? And they stack up their money. They say, okay, we don't have enough money right now. We're going to put our money and we live at our parents' house for 2 years. And what happens is after those 2 or 3 years, after they lived off their parents, they go buy their homes and they create a foundation. So I think that if black people were taught that that's what we should be doing with the government's money, instead of trying to say, don't take no handout. No, everybody else is taking handouts and they're utilizing it and they're benefit from it and they're growing. So why shouldn't black people do the same thing?
Now, when he says that, I do understand that. Like, you know what I mean? I do understand that. Because if you're, blocked off on every way, and that's what you have to do for right now, I understand that. I'm totally not against that. You know what I mean? I'm not against it. But I guess their conversation is dealing in the long term. But they need to deal with, I think, Marquette set that precedence of short term or long term when it should be both short term and long term. Short term, yeah, we can utilize it. It could be beneficial, but in the long term, we got to get out of there because, as you can see, when the government shutdown went past the time of when they're supposed to renew the SNAP benefits, they put them on hold for almost half a month. And black people were upset over it. And white people were upset. That shows you that we need to stop being dependent upon them. That is over. Because what they can give you, they can also take away. So we're going to have to seek self-preservation eventually. That's for the long term. But in the short term, yeah. But that, if anything, that should have showed you, yeah, we need a paradigm shift you know what I mean, and start making our own things happen. Because it's clear that we let this thing get completely out of control, especially black people, because we are under this judgment that we're about to be freed from of the Most High as being the children of Israel. That's we are, our redemption draweth nigh, because their reign of terror is coming down, and they know it. That's why they're engaging us and sending troops and the military to engage us physically. It's causing us to see that these people have not changed. They are our enemies. They're not our friends. They're not liberal. And they're not the type of our type of conservatives. They don't have us in mind when they talk about conserving anything, being conservatives. A lot of people was deceived by Trump. Black people, black conservatives. Y'all should go back and take a look. Well, you could only hear audibly because, you know, I didn't understand the camera work at the time, but my reaction to Amanda Seales versus those black conservatives, those weirdos, those house Negroes, those tether maniacs, man, this for Trump. And I told people back then, you don't trust no politician. None. Why? That's a corporation, a business. They call the United States. How can you trust any politician? That's not where the power is. Let me let them continue on.
Thank you for that. Now, I was taking notes as you were speaking so that I can respond directly to what you've said. One thing that I want the audience to take note of, and you as well, is that there is a red herring. You engaged in a major distraction. So the conversation that we agreed to have, and I'm happy to have this additional conversation, but the conversation we agreed to have was specifically about the clip that Willie D put out. And it was a clip with me speaking about SNAP benefits. And then from that discussion, out of nowhere, you start talking about another clip that you saw on my page with regards to a man speaking about how men and women communicate with respect and how that can or cannot turn physical. So I just want everyone to observe that that was a major distraction on that one. And
I don't think it's really a distraction. I think that you talked about the black family, right? So we're talking about the black family and you say where was the disconnect and how something broke up the black family and how SNAP benefits replaced the man. And I want you to understand that in my point of view, that I don't believe SNAP benefits.
So I didn't yield the floor, and I appreciate that. But that is to bring emotionalism and to pull on the heartstrings. It's not a logical argument, and it's not even a part of what we were discussing. You basically try to position me as someone who approves of beating women and referencing a clip that had nothing to do with the clips that we were talking about. And this is it's almost like a mudslinging tactic, honestly. But I will address it, and I will double down and stand on everything that I've said. Now, one thing I like about you, there are a number of things I like about you, but one thing I like about you is that you're against.
I actually appreciate you.
I appreciate you. And one thing that I know that you've taken a public stand against is blacks murdering blacks, black on black violence. And I agree with you there. In as much as that's the case, we all have to engage one another with respect, and especially women who would claim that they're equal, then you would be treated as an equal. If you wish to be treated as a child or be treated as one who is not as rational, as responsible as a man, then you need to completely submit and be obedient. Now, me, if I had you on one hand and my lady on the other hand, and you said, Marquette, you this, that, and the third, cursing and being vulgar and being verbally threatening, I do my best to give you my worst straight away. There'd be no conversation. If my lady said the exact same things that you said, I wouldn't even take it seriously. because she is truly a lady. She's feminine. I know she's irrational, but most importantly, she's in full submission to me. So even if she got emotional for a moment, I would forgive it because we already understand our hierarchy and that there's asymmetry and that I'm above her. So being that I view myself above her, she views me above her. I don't expect her to engage me with an equal level of rationality and of decorum. So I would not engage her physically. However, if I'm dealing with a woman who says that she's an independent woman, she says she's a strong woman, she says she's the same as a man, she's not taking my leadership, we're equal partners. Now, me personally, if I have an issue with a woman at any level, she's gone. There's no need to even play games with it. I wouldn't lift a hand to her. It's not a good use of time. I send her packing. But let's just say in the scenario of an average guy and he's dealing with a woman on an equal basis. Well, if you, Mysonne, say something that would lead you to getting your eye blacked, and the woman says the same thing, and she believes she's equal, then she should get her eye blacked. And it's that simple, unless you truly don't believe that they're equal. And there's a lot of lies about it's liberal, white woman, feminist ideology, and it's really not about being equal. What it really is about is actually matriarchy and domination. A quick question.
Before he can ask my son a quick question, did y'all hear that? Did y'all hear that? Look, man, no, we don't condone, you opening up her head and seeing what's in it when she gets out of pocket, because that woman understood. The first example is the woman who understood that the hierarchy of and the dynamic between men and women, and that men are up here and women are down here. Somehow this liberal movement moved them not only here, but moved them up here. And that is contrary to the divine order of God, period. Earlier, I told y'all what I've inspired my language from Sinful to P, dealing with the hierarchy of women. Yes, women are the gift of God, but the gift of God is not equivalent to the recipient of the gift, who is the image of God, which is the man. They're not equivalent to you. So, yeah, they're not going to be as they reside and abide and preside in their emotions. You know what I mean? We are logical. They are the weaker vessels. We are the stronger vessels. That's understood. Anything other than that, or anything other than that, is out of order and, satanic. It's a usurpation of authority. 1 Timothy 2 verse 11 reads, a woman should learn in silence, you know what I mean, with all subjection. For it's not fitting for her to usurp authority over the man. But when it comes to our people, it is also written that children are our oppressors and women rule over us. How did that happen? In captivity. That can only happen in captivity, not in the divine order, in the laws and statutes, commandments of God, and those statutes and commandments and judgments that governed our people. No, baby, that would never take place. Every other society understands that. Do you think white women's gonna do that to the white men? No, that's not going down. But it's so familiar and phenomenal and taught. That's why you have that welfare system. That's why it was created. That's why the SNAP benefits was created, to abolish, demolish, and get rid of anything and establish their white supremacist doctrine within the location of our minds and in our society. So we'll never build or rebuild another Tulsa, Oklahoma, or a Rosewood. And then separation of the family. Now the man can't be in the house because she got, she got Section 8, she got Medicare, or Medicaid, or she got SNAP benefits. So she could just kick you out and kick you down a flight of stairs and act like a boss bitch or something like that, and think she's equivalent to you, when even physically you can show her. You don't have to ask, really. You can show her you're not equivalent to me. You need to watch your mouth. You know what I mean? Because so since you are equivalent to me and you are a man, then okay, take this like a man. Ouch, like a man. Take that. Take these hands. Catch these hands like a man. As far as ideology, yes, that makes sense for her backwards thinking that you're equivalent to the likes of a man. Yeah, because he's like he said, my son, if you said something worthy to get your head examined by a specialized street doctor to open up your head to see the head with the, or put your face in the ad on Google so they can locate your brain of why you said what you said to me to make me pop your eye out of your head. You know what I mean? If you said that, you would automatically expect and accept it coming from another man. Because why? Because y'all equal. That woman said the same thing and she believes she equal. She should get the same thing if that's true. But we all know that that's not true. That's a delusion and an illusion. It's not a revelation. It's a devilation. And they need to, it's now up for elimination and extermination. You know what I mean? And termination. We terminating that. Why? Because that's not true. You're not equal to me. And a lot of that ideology is crumbling and tumbling down. So yeah, so Marquette was right. He's doubling down on it. He's doubling down on what he said. Though, yeah, he did bring up such and such. Mysonne brought up the fact that something from an additional clip that was on Marquette's page, that is not what they agreed to talk about with, or the clip that they showed on Willie D's page. But for time's sake, let me let them continue on. But I'm with you, Marquette, you know what I'm saying, on that stance. I'm not with you to the point where I'm going to say that she should get her eye black, but it's just like what Chris Rock said. I ain't saying he should have killed her, but I understand. Come on.
For you before I carry on, you use the term partner. This is a term that comes from the LGBTQ, the Skittle Guzzlers. Do you accept homosexuality?
This one right here is why I'm here. And how much real estate I got left? I might not let it go too far into it, because look, you know what I mean, it's an hour and some change. But he asked him, my son did mention partner. He did mention that. He said partners. Let me take a few 2 minutes on this. Not even 2 minutes. Partner. Me, when I first heard partner, I never agreed with it, because I don't know if I'm a super apex predator, masculine, alpha male, male chauvinist, they might have called me, or some of these weirdos and effeminate gay male girlfriend dudes say, oh, that's toxic masculinity. But no, you're not my partner. Partner denotes equality. See that? Even slickness in your talk, even the slickness in the verbiage and the vernacular and the language and the slanguage part and the jargon, really, of what he liked to call a liberal white woman's mind's ideology. No partners, baby. We're not partners. What happened to? Because that denotes equality. We're not equal, baby. I'm your man, period. I'm your man. I'm not your boyfriend. You know what I mean? I ain't nothing that diminishes or denigrates or make me lower than who I am as far as hierarchy. It goes God, Yahushua Hamashiach, or Jesus Christ, the Black Messiah, then me, then you, then the children. That's divine order, and you're not going to use any slick jargon, any slick language, any slick vernacular like partner to, denote equality. No, come on. Hold on.
Patriarchy and domination. A quick question for you before I carry on. You use the term partner. This is a term that comes from the LGBTQ, the Skittle Guzzlers. Do you accept homosexuality?
Well, I don't have to accept homosexuality because I'm not a homosexual. So why would I have to accept?
Are you pro homosexual? Are you an ally? I'll give you three. I just want to figure out where you're at with it. Are you an ally? Are you against it? Or are you neutral?
I don't have anything against somebody that's homosexual. That's their way of life. It's not my
against,
way.
Neutral, or pro? Or excuse me, I'm sorry, that was wrong. Against, neutral, or ally?
I'm for anyone loving who they love.
You said you're a man. I'm just asking you as a man, respectfully. I'm asking you to make it plain. You know, black folks, we say make it plain. So make it plain for me. You're against it, you're neutral, or you're an ally?
I am for people loving who they love.
You sound like a lawyer right now. Now, here's the thing. I'm from LA. I know you're from New York, right?
Yes, sir.
And one thing we could always respect about the two cities, always look at us as, very influential groups of black people. But we always look at you guys as blunt and straightforward. And we like to think that we're very honest, especially if you come from the lumping class or the underclass or the criminal class. Mm-hmm. Now, in my neighborhood, you ask a nigga a question, he's just going to tell you flat out. Like, I feel like you're going Jesse Jackson on me right now, bro.
No, you feel like that I'm not giving you what you want to give me.
No, you're going Jesse Jackson. I just asked you, like, you from the Bronx. I just asked you, like, are you against it? Are you neutral, or are you an ally?
Once again, I'm going to say again, you don't get to explain to me how I answer a question. You asked me a question, and I said I'm for people loving who they love.
Okay, so you're okay with a grown man loving another grown man.
Being okay with if that grown man is okay with loving that grown man, that's his decision. That's not
okay. Got you. Understood. Now,
come on, man. Come on, my son, man. Come on, my nigga. You from New York. You from the BX, you know what I'm saying? Come on, man. What was that rhyme you had? My song, gun in the right palm. Come on, man. That man, come on, man. You from New York. He from LA. You know what I'm saying? We the apex predators, man. We number one. Listen, man. That man asked you a straight up question, man. Nigga, what? Like, no. What? You would have, you don't, he asked you, are you, for them, or ally, or against them or whatever. You put on some Sammy Davis, Gregory Hines tap shoes and tapped around that, talking about you for people loving who they want to love, bro. You know what's up. People gonna think that now you getting paid from them niggas, man. Like them liberal. That's a liberal. Look, when he say white women liberal talking point, man, that's one of them, bro. You supposed to come kick down the door and say, hell no, I don't rock with them. Not like that. Look, let me tell y'all something, man. I have a child that's engaged in that. Now, I've met people, as y'all seen my last video, when I talk about, a girl that I was infatuated with who was involved in that lifestyle, that LGBTQI MOUSC community. That, that I understand what my son's trying to say, but let me tell you something. Me, as I stated in my last video, called Illuminatorism, you know what I'm saying, gained from on high. I explained and gave y'all my life experiences, having close encounters of the third, fourth, fifth, and sixth kind within these people. You know what I'm saying? And you know, and how it did teach me certain things as far as showing more compassionate and me being able to separate their preference, their sexual preference from that person. But never once, ever, throughout all my close encounters with them, from the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth kind, I never condoned that behavior. Why? I'm an Israelite from the tribe of Judah, governed by the laws and principles of the Most High Yah. He forbids us to participate in any ideology, and especially the act of homosexuality or same-sex marriage. No, we don't. We can pray for them and pray that they would be converted, you know, eventually, and to save their soul from eternal damnation, which they will be destroyed. See, when you're a lover of souls, man, you got to come straight out with it and kick down the door. But it was through kindness and, you know, compassion that a lot of these people who were engaged in that alternative lifestyle had returned. They have returned into their natural state in which God created them. If they are a man, they was born a man, they're no longer thinking of themselves being attracted to another man, or really going out there and becoming transformers, Autobots, and Decepticons by really taking on hormones and body parts and stuff as you being a man and becoming a woman, or vice versa, that woman becoming a man. That's backwards. That's against not only nature, but against God. So no, bro. No, we don't condone that. We don't condone that. He called them Skittle guzzlers. We used to call them, you know what I mean? Now they call male Jezebels, and you know what I mean? I call them, you know, some of them too flaming, you know what I mean? Too proud with it. They had the nerve to take the rainbow that God promised not to destroy the earth with through the force of water and turn that into their symbol. That's disrespectful, man. And now you can't say that because these are the people that's in power. This is what they believe in. They're against God. We're not against the God. So now these talking liberal, white women liberal ideology is against God. So now you're going to have a whole bunch of Kevin the Stallions and Ricky Minaj ass niggas and Sexy Freds and Troy LaRays and Charlie B's and Bro Rillas and no, Joe Rilla, like no, nigga. You supposed to say, hell no. I'm not with that. I'm for, you know, those who love who they love. You from New York, nigga? No. When did you start talking like that? Because you know hip hop did not allow none of that when we was coming up. You had to be in the broom closet of a closet with that. Back in our days, you know that. That's why when Hassan Campbell comes out with this thing with Africa Bambaataa, we like, hell no. And anybody that was on Bam's side too much, we was looking at them suspect. You know what I mean? We was looking at them with a side eye and marking them. Like, oh, nigga, you might have, you know, got some favors done in services of lascivious acts from Africa Bambaataa. And that was in the Bronx, nigga. No, hell no. Come on, man. My son, man. No, I love my son. I love you, bro, but no. Kick down the door, man, with that, man. Stop it. It makes people think that you're getting paid by these people. I don't believe you're getting paid by these people to do what you're doing, but something changed. Your ideology, you're being infiltrated mentally, and you may not even be aware of it. So let me illuminate this game and illuminate your brain with this game once again, man, by telling you, bro, they bleaching your dome. Chill. That ain't your zone. And you know it. Come on.
So that's why I used the term partner earlier. So this kind of ideology that you believe in and that you're sharing, this is the ideology that's extraordinarily destructive to the Black family in particular, and all families in general across all of the racial categories, racial and religious. Because number one, you're talking about independent women, and then you're talking about love. Families are not about love. They're about compatibility, business, moving forward, surviving and thriving. That's what it's actually about. And then when you talk about, oh, you know, you ask the older women, they weren't happy, they weren't in love. That's fine. Grandma had 9 kids, and it was very common that everybody's grandma and great grandma had 5 kids, 6 kids, 7 kids, 8 kids, 9 kids, 10 kids. Apparently things were doing all right. You see, what you're describing is the unruly, disobedient nature of woman in general, but particularly a woman who's traumatized, particularly a woman who's unprotected. A woman should not be leading herself. And what has happened is that they've led themselves to destruction. They think that they're thinking clearly and making good decisions, and they're not. And we can see all of the outcomes as a result. And it's shown up in all of the bad things we've been seeing happen, particularly in the Black community. Now, another thing that reeks of this white woman liberal ideology, you brought up Barack Obama, who, number one, is irrelevant to the conversation. Number two, he's not done a damn thing for Black people. I find it offensive. Number three, as a foundational Black American, he's not one of us. He doesn't have the same heritage. And number four, he did more for the LGBTQ because he actually passed legislation and went to bat on their behalf. I find him to have been a stain for Black people. Did I vote for him the first time around? Absolutely, because just like most of us, I was swept away. I was swept away with seeing my image reflected at a high level. And then I realized, oh, he's not like us. He's not like us. And many of us are lost. I am the souls of Black folks. Black people have the highest level of religiosity in this country right here. And that's because Black people are a people of spirit and rhythm. And that's all of us around the whole planet Earth. We're deeply religious, spiritual people. And if you go to the continent of Africa, for the things that you said you're okay with, the LGBTQ stuff, there's capital punishment in many places. There's a death penalty because Black people, that is against the souls of Black folks. And you're a hip hop head. You may remember the time when hip hop was Black, when hip hop was positive, when hip hop was political, and when hip hop embedded our culture. And you would hear people say things like no homo, or you finish battling somebody, especially in New York, and you would say, and I can't even say the word right now, that's all been ripped out of our culture by the liberal whites. What they did was they commercialized our culture. They put it on social media. They put it on Netflix. And then they told us who we are. Before, they used to observe us in our ghettos and then reflect our image in Hollywood. But now Hollywood tells us who we are, and then we follow it. And that's how you get a Lil Nas X. And that's how you get Mysonne, the general, telling me he can't speak up straight like a man and say, I do not condone the abomination of a man laying down with another man, especially a Black man, because that reduces our population. The Black woman aborts more children than she gives birth to. Her birth rate is like 1.9. You need a birth rate of 2.1 for replacement and for growth. And we cannot have all these people, males laying with males and women laying with women and Black women abort children because we are being reduced. You talk about reparations. You say the government owes us something. Maybe they do. But one thing I can promise you is they ain't giving you a damn thing. You ain't going to get 40 acres. You ain't going to get a mule. What I'm doing is I got Burton Plantation, 62 acres. We're giving out 2 acres, $30K. It's a hell of a deal. And building a cooperative community where we have farming and all of the things that that you need for your children, including homeschool. But what I'm not about to do, I'm not about to wait for a government that I already know hates me. Because goddamn it, the government hates the white man too. He ain't doing a damn thing for the middle and lower class white man. Why in the hell would he do something for me? So I tell you this, logic. I asked you, what's more important, short term or long term? You said long term. Dig this. If we believe that the black man in America, the black family is owed something and we want to get it, you have to get it through force, because that's how it was taken. It was taken by force. Malcolm X, one of your New York brothers, told you, you can't ask to get free, you got to take it. So if we want to be able to compete, we need population, we need education, we need religion, we need heterosexuality, we need unity, leadership, and patriarchy. The things that you're talking about, being a partner and focusing on love and not having reproduction, those are all things that destroy us. And that's what's happening right now. There will be no reparations. We have to build up our population and take the reparations by any means necessary. You brought, you say the government owes us something, because that's how it
in certain situations, because they know he never felt like he.
That's what's happening right now. There will be no reparations. We have to build up our population and take the reparations by any means necessary.
What Willie D be doing? Let me get my Willie D on. Ain't got no problem with that. Shout out to Willie D. Man, I have no disagreement with Marquette at all. And I felt the spirit, the fire, all of that. He was absolutely right. He voted for Barack Obama. You know what I'm saying? I never did. You know what I mean? I never did, because I knew better. But at the same time, a lot of our people were deceived by the black face of the, New World Order wearing minstrel blackface. He, through Barack Obama, calling him the first black president. Like they try to push that Kamala Harris on us, like she was black when she's East Indian. Barack Obama, a lot of us believe he's a Hamite. He might even be an Edomite. But one thing we know he is not. He's not a foundational black American. He is not us. He is a tether. That's one thing we do know. He's a tether maniac. And according to the Constitution and the laws that's supposed to govern this land, he was never supposed to be a president. That's supposed to be for naturalized born people born here in America. That man was born in Kenya, raised in Indonesia, didn't even have a birth certificate to be here in the United States, and he became your president? Barack Obama has the spirit of Antichrist. But what? He was put upon the pedestal as a Messiah, a savior. Everybody in the world worshiped this man. I perceived him like from off the rip. I think the fact that they put him in office, because that was the year I really found out that we are the children of Israel, due to Michael the Black Man describing Obama. And he was like, no, the black men of America are the children of Israel. And when he said that, I knew who this dude was not. And I knew who we were. Not only that, you talking about reparations. Look, Marquette, America going to give us some reparations whether they want to or not. Whether they like it or not. That's biblical prophecy. And you are right. It's going to be taken by force. It's going to be taken by force. And you're right. We have to get aggressive, because there's a time to kill and a time for war. And this is what we're in. These people have gotten worse. They have gotten worse. They're involved in trafficking of children and all this Epstein stuff and all kind of pederasty and all kind. These people their wickedness has waxed worse and worse and worse, and the people in the land are being marked that sigh and cry for all the iniquities that's being done in the land, and especially when we are victims of these iniquities. So I felt every fiery, burning sensation. That's the type of on fire you need to be, not a flaming hot Cheeto, Human Torch, Sexy Fred, Kevin Thee Stallion, Ricky Minaj ass nigga. Not them. And Obama provided legislation to make that and elevate their movement and their agenda. You know what they called him? The first gay president. And he was caught up with Larry Sinclair and all that. Look, I ain't even gonna get on it. Y'all do your own research about this dude. But on top of that, you talking about reparations. They ain't gonna give us nothing. It's gonna have to be taken by force. They're not gonna give us nothing. But Marquette was cooking. Mysonne, nigga, when hip hop first started, you know what time it was. We didn't accept that. It wasn't no MC Booty B or Down Low D. There's no Down Low D, MC Booty B. You know what I mean? DJ Butt Plug, none of that. No. We wasn't having it. And you from the hood too, you know, man, let me let this, man.
So a lot of what you said I agree with, and a lot of what you said is false, in my opinion. Right? First of all, I don't have a white liberal mentality. White women, I've probably been around one or two white women my whole life. I've been around strong black women who are probably smarter than the men that they were around. I've been around strong black women who were smarter. My grandmother was smarter than most men I've ever seen. She was stronger than most men I've ever seen, and my grandfather was stronger than her. But he never put his hands on her. He never put his hands on her, and she talked crazy. He never put his hands on her. He was a man. He was a strong adult man, and he never felt like he had to overpower her or take or diminish her power for him to be great. I don't feel like I have to diminish any woman's power around me. I'm around strong, intelligent, beautiful, smart black women every day of my life. The most powerful black women in this country every day of my life. And I don't mind following them in certain situations. They follow me in certain situations because they know I'm strong enough to lead. And any leader is strong enough to follow. And if you think that you have to lead in every situation, then you've never really been a leader. And that is what you call a weak man's mentality. And it's a weak men mentality. It's not a white woman liberal. It's a weak men's mentality to believe that every room he's in and every time he's around a woman that he has to be in some position of power. No,
Yo, whoa. Let me pull the reins on my dear brother, my beloved brother, my son, man. Come on, man. There's another vernacular slang or phrase or colloquialism that I got from Sinful to P. Notice I'm not a plagiarist. I'm gonna cite the person who's responsible for things that I may utter in certain situations, where Sinful to P used to say, your opinion must have dominion, and when it comes to presiding over women, your opinion has the dominion. Yes, she can, make suggestions, and a request to make suggestions, and I get what you're trying to communicate. I feel the spirit of what you're trying to say, and that these are strong black women, and you know what I mean. Another thing that might be misconstrued or misinterpreted as a liberal white woman's talking point or a liberal's talking point. But I do understand the spirit of where you're coming from with that. But at the same time, you feel like he shouldn't have to feel like he should have the control or dominance in every room. Yes, he should. Yes, he should. That doesn't mean that he doesn't accept any suggestions or ideas from, you know, women and things like that, that would be foolish. No, we can do that. But to be honest with you, bro, yeah, the final decision is going to be upon me. My opinion must have and will always have dominion in this situation. If it's not like that, then that woman is not for you. That woman doesn't respect you. She playing with you, bruh. Like my niece say, chill, bruh. Like Soleil be saying, chill, bruh. No, bruh. She playing with you, bruh. She playing with you, man. Any woman that's like that, like, you know what I'm saying? But that don't mean that we don't allow her to speak and let her be and release her full measure. We encourage that. You know what I'm saying? Because women are brilliant. They are the gift of God, man. And they come with a lot of talents and gifts, and they may be more affluent and more informed in certain areas than you. But it always come back to the power of masculinity as far as, you know, dominion. My opinion has dominion, regardless of what she accomplished or what her level of expertise is and her accomplishments. She's still not equivalent to me, though that does not mean that I don't, you know, pay attention to that which is true just because it came out of the mouth of a vessel that's supposed to be of the weaker vessel. So no, we're not extremists in that sense. So I do understand where you're trying to go with it, but when you tiptoeing a little bit too far, somehow we don't need to be dominant in every room. It almost as if we're being toxic with it. No, we have decorum, we have temperance and understanding, but at the same time, yeah, my opinion has dominion over all the situation. Period. Let's go.
I've been around women, like I said, who are stronger, who are doing more, who are more educated, who are more or more artistic, who are more theological, who lead better, who are organized better. I've been around those women in my life, so I understand what that is. So when we talk about women, I understand that from my perspective, not from the white woman's perspective. When we talk about homosexuality, I've never seen a homosexual stop being a homosexual because I didn't like it. Right? I was a 20 and 19-year-old person. My father was so anti-homosexual that he used to beat homosexuals up. I grew up until I was a grown man. I started having conversations with homosexuals and realizing that the same way that I loved women and the same ideology, some of them was crying because they wish they weren't homosexual. Right? Understanding that they believe that this is who they are. I had a different understanding. I don't have to agree with someone else's lifestyle, but I don't have to impose upon it. And because you kill and you make a law that says homosexuality is forbidden, it's not going to stop people from being homosexuals. Because you don't call a person trans, they're not going to stop being trans because you don't like it. So what you should do is build your tribe, raise your kings to be kings, teach them what manhood looks like, and raise them in your own image instead of worrying about what somebody else is doing. I don't have to kill you or impose upon your ideology or your life or your culture for me to be strong, because I'm a king in real life. So when people see me, they gravitate to me because I lead. I can go into the most dangerous communities in the Bronx, Brooklyn, Chicago, anywhere, and be treated like a man. I make people put their guns down because I move like a king, and that's what power is. So the ideology that you think that we have to impose upon people who are weaker than us, or who have different ideologies than us, is not manhood at all to me. I think what's weak in our community and what women stop having respect for men is because they see men think that you got to rule because you're more physically stronger than them. Men are not all men are not mentally stronger than women. Women have dealt with more pain and been through more shit. My mother went through more shit than I've ever seen any man go through. So you're not going to tell me that men are just all the way stronger than women. That's not true. Physically, yes. And most of these weak men who don't have nothing else to provide but strength want to physically impose themselves upon women. And that's not manhood to me. So I always stand up against that. So yes, we have different ideologies. I do believe the black family should be led by men, but it has to be led by men and not males. Just your physical anatomy does not make you a man. Because you could put your hands or physically do something to me doesn't make that you're stronger than me, or you have some level of hierarchy over than me. When you want to be a man, lead with your mind, right? Because if you look at the strongest people in the world, Hitler was 5'3", he led with his mind. If you look at people who had people that followed them, they led with their mind. So I understand that the strongest tool on a man is his mind, and a woman will submit to a man who has a mind. I don't have to hit a woman to make her do what I want her to do. I don't have to impose my will for my woman to do. And if you're in a relationship, and if you're in a marriage with a woman, so since you don't like the term partner, if you're in a marriage with a woman and you can't get her to submit to you because you are strong mentally and she believes in you, then you're in the wrong relationship, and you should find you another relationship. You should not stay there. You should not impose your will upon that woman. You should not threaten that woman. You should not have to do all of that shit. Your kids are supposed to follow you because they see strength in you. When you are a strong person, people see strength in you. You don't have to impose anything. And that's why we're in a system with an oligarchy and a fascist who thinks that because he imposes his will upon somebody and say, you can't be that and you can't do that, and this is with this, and that's why the world is rejecting it. This ideology that you have, the world is rejected. So you can keep on going with it if you want to, but the majority of the world is rejecting it. If we want to talk about building up black families, we have to build black unities in respect and in partnership and identifying the strength in women, finding you a partner who is equally yoked with you. When you find a woman that you can look in her eyes and she sees the strength in you, you know, the movie I like 300, right? I like 300 because that man used to go to he was the king, but he looked at his wife and everybody knows who he was the strongest person there. But he looked at her and she gave him the head nod, and he respected her and she respected him, and she was willing to die for him. So this is what a family unit looks like to me. I don't know what y'all look. I don't want to be in no family where it's just a business and you doing what the fuck excuse my language. I apologize. You weren't supposed to coach. I apologize. And you're doing what I say because you're physically scared of me. Or I have to impose rules upon you that goes against your moral compass for you to be with me. So if that's the type of society that you think we need for black people to win, I don't want to be in that society. I want to be in society where people are here because they want to be here. I don't want you to be in my community around me out of fear. I don't want that. And the real kings and people who really led that I follow, they didn't need that. So, you know, that's what you believe is going to bring black unity back and black community back and black foundation and family back. We just have two totally different ideologies. And I respect yours, but I'm standing with mine.
Man, let me tell you, I agree with a lot what my son just said, you know, you should be equally yoked. That woman, you don't have to try, impose your will and, you know what I'm saying, and things like that. And that's when like I told you how I used to be, I'm totally not down with that anymore. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, you do want to recognize, like I was expounding earlier, you do want to recognize the talents and gifts of that particular woman. You know what I mean? You do want her to release her full measure. You know what I mean? You do want to support her. You do want to get with someone that's equally yoked with you, that respects and honor you. So I agree, my son. You are absolutely correct. But as far as you saying, there shouldn't be any policies or whatever rules to say that you can't do this and can't do that. Yeah, I can understand that to a degree. But more so, they're passed through people like the liberal side or Democratic Party, and they are passing the very same thing that you're talking about, that we shouldn't pass rules and legislation. They pass rules and legislation to empower this behavior, to empower this sexual deviancy, to the point where you can't even point out that's what that really is. It's sexual deviancy. You know what I mean? So you're saying you shouldn't be putting out laws, rules, and regulations that goes against sexual deviancy. I totally disagree with that, because the Bible was in the Old Testament, contract, covenant, the old covenant. Covenant is a contract, a list of do's and don'ts. You are governed by principle. There's a list of do's and don'ts, and that's one of them. Leviticus 20:13 KJV. That's a rule. You know what I mean? That's a commandment. These are rules. You cannot lie down with another man as if he was a woman. Both of them committed an abomination. They shall surely be put to death. That was a death penalty. And when you saying most of the world are rejecting the fact that you putting rules against their lifestyles and stuff like that, that is not true. No, that's the America and the Western world imposing their sexual deviant behavior through legislation on these people who are totally not down with that, knowing that that's sexual deviancy. But as far as your take on women, and men are just trying to be males and lead the household with the iron fist and all that, that's because they don't have any articulation. They're underdeveloped, and they might make mistakes, and some of them are outright evil. And no, well, we ain't making no excuse for them. But my son, I understand where you was going with that, but I totally disagree with you talking about, yeah, we got some fascists in offices telling them they can't do this and can't do that. I never saw, somebody making a legislation or to make homosexuals not be homosexuals. That's not going to stop them. And how you brought up the fact that your father had a sharp disdain for him and used to beat him up. And I was the same way. I said that in my last video called Illuminatorism, Game from on High, where I described how we would like, yo, man, you better get away from us with that. Boom, 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 boom. You know what I mean? And we had a disdain for that behavior. But it wasn't until you started going out of your community, these ideologies are, now you're being introduced to that, and now you're being converted. We were talking about condoning it. You talking about just because I don't agree, but you never said you don't agree. You don't agree. You never said that. You never said you disagreed. You just left it neutral, wide open. You know what I mean? Neutral to P. You know what I mean? Nah, man. You never took a stance on it. You never said whether you condoned it or not. We don't condone it, though. I love it. Like, I have friends and stuff that's involved in lifestyle, and I truly love them for the bottom of my heart. And that won't ever change. But do I condone their behavior? Hell to the no. And that's because I love them. And I really love them. That person that's they involved with, they don't really love them like that. They have a form of love or a form of godliness, but they deny the power thereof. I truly love them because I have the truth. They're loving them in the covert of lies and illusion, though they may really feel love for them. And they might really love them separate from their deviancy or their preference or alternative lifestyle. That I can never say that they don't love each other in that form. But when you really love them and love their soul and love the truth, you know that that's not supposed to be going down. You dig? Come on. Let's hurry up and get to the end of this. Shoot, I got like 10 minutes, but let's go.
Again, I want everyone to note that Mysonne again has suggested that I've promoted laying your hands on women. I've never done that my entire
You
life.
just explain. You
And
just
I
explained what
also,
they said, though. You
you're
explained what
interrupting me
they
at
said.
this time, sir, if I might complete a sentence. I've never done that in my entire life. I've never promoted it. I've had no experience with that. And this is how we know for sure that you're representing the white woman liberal ideology, because the
Okay,
main
so
thing that you hear them
what we're gonna do
talking.
is this, right? Because we
May I
said about
complete a
respect.
sentence?
We said about respect, right? So stop equating me with anything that has to do with a white woman. All right. So just
Well,
say
it's their ideology.
no,
You
just
see,
me saying a liberal.
it's their ideology.
I would take a liberal ideology, but don't equate nothing that.
No, they're the
I've
ones. We're in a
explained-
matriarchy.
Once again, I've explained to you that I've never been
We're-
around white women, so I don't have a white.
You don't have to, even if you're.
My son, listen, I had to stop real quick. My son, that's going over my son's head. My son, that went over your head. What he's saying, and I get it. I don't know. Sometimes, dealing with Marquette, man, I have mixed feelings, but I think he's being genuine at the same time. When he's telling you about this liberal white woman, you know what I mean? He has to unpack it, and I think he is about to do that. But my son, that's kind of, you're saying that you never had a close encounter of the third kind, with a white woman. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? I get that, but that's not really what he's talking about. You know what I mean? You don't have to have a close encounter with them in order to be influenced by them by proxy. You can be influenced by them via a party you're dealing with, via a black woman who subscribe, hit the like button, sharing, and getting notifications by hitting the bell button to that ideology and pitching it and giving it to you. Maybe it's Tamika, maybe you hanging out with Tamika Mallory, you know what I'm saying? That might have, influenced you or something to that matter. But it is influenced you because you use the word partner. Who does that? Liberal white women, they use that. Liberals use that. But my son, that's going over your head, bro. He don't mean that you're having close interactions with an actual liberal white woman. That's not what he's saying. You know what I mean? And, let's go further.
Around black women, even if you're around black women, you're still around liberal white woman ideology. That's what you're not catching up with. Black women today are the result of liberal.
My mother hated all.
You keep on speaking while I'm talking.
Because what you're doing.
I didn't interrupt you like this.
But you're not interrupting me.
I didn't interrupt you like this.
You're saying things that we already started.
I didn't interrupt you like this.
Respect.
You were positioning me as a woman beater, and I didn't even interrupt you.
You said something.
You positioned me like I'm Ike Turner, and I let you keep going.
I didn't say you. I said the ideology that I didn't say that you ever put your hands on a woman.
I never said that's my ideology. You can go to thesassin.com, THESASN.com, and click what is Marquettism, and you won't see one thing about laying a hand on a woman. So that's not my ideology.
You said that in this conversation. You just said if a woman speaking to you like a man and she feels like she's equal, then I will punch you in the face. You said I would black.
I did not say that.
You said if
you're incorrect.
My son, he didn't say that. That's how I know it's just going over your head. He didn't say that. Now it may appear that he said that because he kind of suggested or agreed that if they think they're equal, then that should happen. But that don't mean he actually agreed with that. It's like in bizarre world, you know what I mean? If we they exist in a bizarre world by even thinking that they're equal with us. And whoever brought that scenario up of you losing a fight because I punched you in your mouth, opened your head up to see what was in it, see what caused you to say what you said, trying to be equivalent to a man when you're a woman. Yeah, no, I didn't abuse you. I just let you have it. I went bang zoom. You know what I mean? You remember my son, Ralph Cramden always said bang zoom, but did he ever do it? No, he never did it. So it's kind of going over your head, brother. I get why you think that he actually endorsed that. It sounded like that, but when you have discernment, you could discern that no, in the bizarre world, yeah, she should get her head knocked off. But of course not. No. It sounds like he agreed, but he didn't. Come on.
Certain
And
things
this is,
that
again, this
deserve
is,
for you to
you
get your
find
eyes
this with the
back.
Democrats. This is
You didn't
mudslinging.
say that?
This is mudslinging.
So
Is
that
what this
wasn't
is.
the terminology.
This is mudslinging.
So explain to me what you said then.
So you have to calm down and remember the fact that I had the floor. So you don't interrupt me and then start asking me questions while I'm talking. So first you interrupted, you said you were clarifying something.
Disrespect.
And then you went, I've not tried to disrespect you. I've not tried to disrespect
you. That it
you.
was disrespectful. So
No,
now,
you're letting me know that you're offended by it, and that's fine. Sometimes we'll get offended. I'm offended by the fact that you are suggesting that I promote the idea of laying a hand on a woman when I've never done anything of the sort. Oppositely, I recommend people to leave the woman if it ever comes to anything like that. So yeah, I find that offensive, but not so offensive that I become emotional like a woman and then start interrupting. There have been times that you were talking and I said, may I ask you this?
You see what I mean? You're going back to the same thing. And this is what I'm saying.
Why do you keep interrupting?
Because you're saying I'm being emotional.
Now, you know, sometimes when you're articulating stuff, you may not really, you know, pick up on the sensitivity of that. Sometimes some words you utter may be taken as disrespectful, though I can discern what Marquette is talking about when he said responds like a woman. But when you say it in that instant, and in that moment, yeah, it could be perceived strongly. Like, and you could have meant that, but not to the extreme that, you know, my son is taking it. Like, see, he was like, there you go again. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to be respectful. You respect me. You basically disrespecting me, talking about I'm interrupting you and being emotional like a woman. I'm not doing that, and you're not going to do that. You know what I mean? And I don't think that was Marquette's intention to do that to the general, but that is describing what particularly happens when people, you know, get emotional. They start interrupting and things like that. But my son's only interrupting because he wants to inform him that your speech is, I'm receiving it on the receiving end, and I'm detecting it as disrespect. And I will need some clarification, you know what I mean? Because that, if that's what you're doing, you know, dang, you know what I mean? I thought we were on the premise of respect. So, yeah, I think he's going to unpack that. But sometimes you do got to watch in the heat of the moment your choice of words. So, come on.
Like a woman, and I'm telling you, I'm explaining to you this so that because we can stop the conversation. If you don't think that you can move forward without comparing me to a woman, then we can stop.
No, I'm telling you that we're all in a matriarchy right now. We're in a matriarchy, which is a female-led society. And in a female-led society, women control the culture and the ideology. And what I'm expressing to you is that I believe you are victim of that ideology and that the ideas you're sharing with me reek of that ideology. And I'll give you an example of what I mean. The male.
Before I let him continue on, let me do that again. Marquette. That was good unpacking. When I first heard it, I thought you were trying to clean that up. But, you know, on a second listen, that was very good. You had to unpack it for him to where you can take the fragrance of that cheap perfume called Disrespect out of the room and remove that scent and air it out of the room and out of his mind so he can fully receive and grasp what you're really trying to articulate and communicate to him. That was very, very good. Man, that was very good. I gotta keep it real, man. When you said he may be a victim, that will remove, if he have any discernment, that would have removed the fact that no, I'm not trying to disrespect you. I'm actually trying to illuminate you, enlighten you, make you aware for your protection, brother. That, bro, the way you're talking and the way you're your choice of words like partner and stuff, you may be under influence and being victimized and not even know it. You might not even know it, bro. Let me explain. But I'm glad that had it not been for my son interrupting, which was, it turned out to be a good thing. Like, yo, that sounds disrespectful. Don't compare me to a woman. No. Be careful. That ideology, you know what I mean? You may become a victim of it, and you may not even be conscious of it. Come on.
Versus the female, we have a different nature of that ideology, and that the ideas you're sharing with me reek of that ideology. And I'll give you an example of what I mean. The male versus the female, we have a different nature. For example, females tend to be ones who want to bring people together. They're more accepting and they're all about equality. Conversely, the quintessential male personality and psyche is more about hierarchy and inequality and establishing dominance.
Well, who said that?
This is psychology. We can read.
My son said, who said that? My son said, who said that? Like, who made them the authority on this subject or on this topic? That's the way he said that. Boy. Yeah, bro. You need to be illuminated. Because, bro, you moving and saying things, yo, for you to challenge that, something's off. There's something off, man. For you to challenge that, bro, he just gave you a complete dope breakdown. Marquette, that was a very good breakdown. You said we are under a matriarchy where they like to bring things together and form a union, coalition, equality. That's why they be thinking of equality. You know what I mean? Us as men, we're too different. Men, the dynamic between men and women are different. They've been thinking about coming together, equality. Men are thinking about hierarchy and inequality, dominance. Those are two different polarities. There's two different energies. There's two different spirits. One masculine, one feminine. One strong, one weak. You know what I'm saying? And you need both. You need both. One positive, one negative. You need both. Order, chaos. You need both. You said, who said that? Boy, my son, you chill and listen for a second. Come on.
Read all of the basics in psychology, hierarchy and inequality and establishing dominance.
Well, who said that?
This is psychology. We can read all of the basics in psychology. There are traits that are typical of the human female and the human male. For example, being neurotic, That's more of a female trait. Being dominant, that's more of a male trait. There's even a book written by a woman. And for those of you who would like to check out the book, you can find it on amazon.com/shop/The Saint and the Sinner. And it's written by a woman. And it talks about how women in corporate can fit into male culture, because male culture used to dominate in corporate, and that's changing. And when you look at HR, it's mostly women. Why? Because that's a perfect job for women, because women have different wiring than men. And just the fact that you're questioning me on the differences between the male and the female, this is gender feminist ideology suggesting that we're the same. We're not the same. Now, you ask, why am I suggesting that you have feminist mentality? Is because earlier you went out of your way to describe, I know so many women are strong, and, my grandmother was stronger than so-and-so, and the guy from 300, King Leonidas, couldn't make a call without looking at his wife. And you've gone to great lengths to explain that the woman has to lead at some point. And what I'm telling you is, the good news for you is that what you believe in is dominant right now. It's dominating right now throughout the Western civilization. And that is why Western civilization is in decline. So I'm going to get back to my earlier points before I...
Man, he cooked again, man. My son, that's why we're in decline, because the spirit that is governing this earth is contrary to the ultimate spirit it came from, the spirit of dominance, basically the Most High and the devil. It wants to change everything around. How you go from a patriarch to a matriarch society? That's why there's chaos everywhere, because that being that are controlling these so-called men and women and passing and legislating these agendas and things like that, bringing chaos to the world. That's opposite, because order now has to be established, because chaos has reared its ugly head. You have to have a male dominance that brings order and balance to the situation and balance it out. You know what I'm saying? So everything, all infractions and transgressions and all that, that's going to be corrected. That's, what they say, balancing the books will be balanced very soon. Those who like to spill blood will be made to drink it. That's balance. That's equality. Denzel Washington, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Vanessa Williams, they started movies that were titled Equalizer. Denzel Washington was the latter form of the equalizer. He equalizes. Oh, you did this? Oh, now you... Basically, it's harvest time, brother. It's harvest time. They're going to reap what they sown. You have sown these seeds. They're coming. There now is harvest time. And there's a separation of the wheat and the tare. Wheat is the strong and dominance and order. Tares are the chaotic and wicked and evil and sexual deviant, matriarchal instead of patriarchal. Bro, you don't know what's going on, bro. You are accepting of ideology. You are a victim, yes. You're being victimized, bro. You need to be illuminated. And that's what I'm here doing. He's definitely, shout out to Marquette, he's definitely doing that. You know what I mean? Me, I'm just putting some paint where it ain't, saying what most can't, and adding the Bible and the spiritual and the true identity of our people into the equation, which is the biggest knowledge gap that is missing in both sides of y'all conversation. Come on.
Was interrupted. And again, I want everyone to know, for those of you guys watching, I want you guys to know, to be honest with you, if I saw the gentleman in real life, I probably wouldn't have this conversation. I'm having this conversation where we're kind of splitting apart ideas. But if I had this, saw the brother in real life, I probably want to for a meal or hear what he has going on or go check out his organizations, things like that. I wouldn't debate him. I'd more so be interested in where do we intersect and how can we do some work together. I just want everyone to know that for the record. And furthermore, I want people to know that I wouldn't disrespect him to his face because I do respect him. So for everyone watching it, I don't think that, he's someone to be disrespected, and I don't intend to disrespect him. He may feel disrespected, but I don't have any intention of that. I have respect, but I have very strong disagreements. Now, if there was a revolution popped up, hell yeah, I'm gonna have to run you through with a spear. You dig? But as it stands, we just disagree and we're pulling apart our ideas. And again, I truly believe that we are in a matriarchy and the ideas that you're sharing are liberal white woman ideas. And I'll justify it right now. And it's not to put you down. It's just to explain that that's where your ideas come from, as do the ideas of most black women. Here's the examples. Liberal white woman. If I asked a liberal white woman, now, unlike you, I've been around a lot of liberal white women. I graduated from the University of California, Berkeley. It was filled with them. They nasty too. But anyways, if you said liberal white woman, are you for Barack Obama or against Barack Obama? They'd be like, I'm for him. Okay, boom. That's liberal white woman. Liberal white woman. They'd be like, I'm for him. Okay, boom. That's liberal white woman. Liberal white woman. Are you for the independent woman or are you against the independent woman? She'd be like, I'm for the independent woman. That's liberal white one. You also said live and let live with regards to the LGBTQ. I'd say liberal white woman. Are you for the live and let live? Or do you believe that there should be order, rules and rules? She'd say, no, live and let live. Okay, that's liberal white woman. You also talked about female empowerment, namely the woman getting independent of the man using SNAP as instrumentality for such. Liberal white woman, do you agree that the woman should be able to get independent of the man and use SNAP benefits to get out from under him? Yes, she'd say yes. All of the things that, and then liberal white woman, do you use the term partner? Or do you think that that term destroys the foundations of natural relations, such as the term boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife? Do you use partner instead? She said, yes, I use partner instead. Those are all liberal white woman things that came from the liberal white woman thought factory and that are now coming out of your mouth. And one thing I know for damn sure, and I ain't even got to ask you the question to this because I know the answer. You wouldn't have talked like this 15 years ago, 20 years ago. This is all new language, and damn sure being a black man from the real part of New York, you wouldn't have talked like this. And for damn sure in our culture, in black culture, before we were victim of whites tearing it out of us and forcing into us what they want us to believe, liberal whites. There's no way in hell if I said, are you against, are you neutral, or are you an ally of the Skittle guzzlers? You would have did any tap dancing. You'd be like, bro, hell nah. Why? Because that's what your mother believed. That's what your father believed. That's what your grandparents believed. And that's what we all believe until that was torn out of us. That is not natural to the black people. That is liberal white woman ideology. And I know it because I've lived in Baltimore. I've lived in Chicago. I've lived in Los Angeles. I've lived in San Francisco. I know the souls of black folks, and that is not us. That is liberal white woman written all over it. And so all the things that I named, 5 separate points that you espouse that a liberal white woman would agree with 100%. That's why I say that's where your ideology comes from.
Man, let me tell you something. As I come to the close of this, he broke that down to his very last compound, man. Oh, look at the talking points. Partner. Would you agree or vote for Barack Obama? The various other things that he mentioned. Liberal white women talking points. Mysonne agreed with every last one of them. Every last one of them. Mysonne, you needed this illumination. You did. You needed it. You needed it. You know damn well 20 years ago you wouldn't be talking like this. Your father was beating the brakes off them niggas. So you wouldn't have been, you yourself, before you got out of your circle, you wouldn't have been talking like this. What happened to you? What happened to you, my son? Why are you talking like that now? But it's cool. You have someone who is Illuminator like and brought some enlightenment to you. Because you definitely is in the dark with that. 20 years ago, you wouldn't be talking like this. He said, you down with him, neutral or ally? You would have said, hell no. But when you got outside of your community, your tribe, he says this later on in the video, it just would have been an eternal video. It'd probably been like 4 or 5 hours if I'd let that continue on. It's already 2 hours, some change. But my son, no, bro. No, sir. Let me ask you something, my son. You in New York, right? Marquette is in Los Angeles, California, or on the West Coast, whatever he is. I think he's in Vegas, wherever he is. Y'all want to meet up at the Capitol, at a restaurant outside of the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. It's a nice restaurant where he said, look, if I probably met him, I would probably have dinner, discuss things over a meal and not even engage him in these type of conversations. I would want to find out where we meet, you know what I mean, and what he's actually presiding over and doing with his organization. But this is the restaurant he wants to meet you at, right? So, yeah, meet me there tomorrow at 7 p.m. You know, we're going to have a good time. We have a nice meal, discuss some things on how we can, you know, possibly do some business together. It's like a business, meeting over a meal. He tells you the Pacific restaurant. We meet at this restaurant on this street at this time. He's coming from the West Coast. That means he's going to either drive there, but I assume he would get on a flight, book a flight, landing, book a hotel, get transportation to meet you there at the designated place at the designated time. You will come from New York or wherever you are in the country, either book a flight or drive or whatever. Whatever you can, get there on time to meet him at that destination, at that particular restaurant, at that particular designation and time. Though he came from the West Coast, and though you came from the East Coast, New York, y'all both arrived at the same location, at the same time, to meet at each other at an appointed time. How is it, my son, that you arrive at the same conclusion and the same talking points, the same ideologies of a liberal white woman? How did that happen? You're eating at the same restaurant called Liberal White Woman's Cafe. You having potato salad with raisins in it. You having cucumbers with the sandwiches with the crust cut off. You're at IWW's Cafe. You know what I mean? No, LWW's Cafe. Liberal White Woman's Cafe. How did you wind up there? They come from, no matter if you had a close encounter with them, you still arrived with the same conclusion, the same ideology, man. How did that happen? You eating at the same restaurant they're at? You know what I mean, partaking of the same doctrines and you got offended because it went over your head. It went over your head, bro. Man, whatever you know what I mean, Marquette, I applaud you. I roasted you last time, and I'm doubling down on that because, bro, you know. But anyway, I respect what you just did in this conversation with my son. I applaud you. Just like I could roast you, I can applaud you when you do good. This was, look, man, this was the finest I've ever seen you at. You know what I mean? Real talk. My respect to you, you know what I'm saying, for trying to illuminate and enlighten this brother. You know what I'm saying? Because illumination is what's needed, man. So I appreciate y'all for putting this content out, man. And, you know, y'all who'll view this later, y'all hit that like button, hit that share button, hit that subscribe button, man. I'm coming with it, man. This is Gues with the Illuminator, man. I'm constantly illuminating and interior decorating your brain and lacing your brain with some of this incredible and glorious game. Once again, man, y'all get up in the comment section. Tell me what you think about this, man. And we're going to continue on and rock on and do some more content of this magnitude. Of course, we're going to deal with self-mastery. We're definitely going to get further into, you know, hidden agendas and what's going on in the world and tying it into biblical prophecy and all that. We're just, you know, I'm just amping it and ramping it up, baby. So, yeah, y'all get in the comment section, man. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that share button, hit that notification button, man. And like I ended, all as usual, I ended. Y'all have a blast, pass a while now, greater later. Live the life of your design so you can have a good time for a lifetime. Live the life of his design, which is the most high. So your life will be divine for the rest of your lifetime. I love y'all. Peace. I'll see y'all in the next video.